Hey guys, this is Anime Alternatives here, and this is What If Naruto Had It? Explosion Release Part 3, so I hope you guys enjoy. Sorry for the late post, I wasn't able to actually record yesterday, but it worked out pretty okay, because I was able to add a little more to the script, so I hope you guys enjoy, and without further ado, roll the intro. Naruto brought his arm up to block a palm strike from Neji. He coded in chakra to negate the palm strike. Kuso, Naruto muttered as he realized Neji hadn't applied any chakra to that palm strike, indicating there was a feint. This was further confirmed by the triumphant smirk on Neji's face as his other palm came shooting forward and landed on Naruto's abdomen. Naruto felt the familiar sting that was associated with the successful closing of a tenketsu via the gentle fist palm. Naruto had been using a technique he called the protective cage technique. To use the technique, one simply had to surround themselves with a layer of chakra on top of their skin. It protected them from other techniques like the gentle fist or the weak genjutsu. Then came the downsides. For as cool or as useful as a technique as it sounded, it had quite the list of downsides. To start, it basically was the opposite of the muscle enhancement technique, in which the user simply channeled chakra into their muscles to enhance them. With the protective cage technique, it coated the body in a layer of chakra which made it hard to move, almost as if one was moving through honey. This was the first drawback. Coincidentally, it also caused the second one. Because the more chakra the user applied or funneled into the jutsu, the less they could move, the user had to create a limit to the amount of chakra they used in the jutsu so they could still move around efficiently. This also meant that a genjutsu strong enough could break through the protective layer of chakra to affect the mind. The same thing with chakra-based attacks, like the gentle fist in this case. A way around this was to simply constantly change the proportions of chakra in the different sections of the protective cage. For example, if the user knew where an attack was going to land on their body, all they simply had to do was concentrate a high percentage of chakra used by the protective cage in that area. However, the proportions had to be perfect. Elsewise, it could backfire heavily. For example, if the user was about to be hit by a D-rank Kanton Jutsu the size of a watermelon right in the chest, all they would have to do is just concentrate a high amount of chakra that made up the jutsu into the chest area to stop the fireball, and then have the remaining percentage of chakra cover the rest of the body to stop the flames when the fireball exploded. Lastly, because the user was also enveloped in a shroud of chakra, sure, it helped stop foreign chakra like genjutsu from getting in, but it also stopped the user's chakra from getting out, which meant no ninjutsu, or genjutsu for that matter. Between reduced mobility, reduced speed, high susceptibility to feint attacks, no ninjutsu, the protective cage was a real double-edged sword, leading to the technique being quite the situational jutsu for when your opponent didn't know about it. Another sharp jolt to Naruto's sides, snapping out of his thoughts. Naruto tried to jump back, but Neji followed, getting into a stance that Naruto absolutely abhorred, and before murmuring, 8 trigrams, 16 palms. You're not the only one that can pull feints, Naruto thought sadistically, as Neji ran forward. The protective cage was just that, a protective cage for the user, but that didn't mean it couldn't trap other things. Naruto focused the rest of his chakra, still left after the beating that Neji gave to the defenses of the technique, into the two places where Neji was about to strike, and slightly change the properties, applying the water walking technique to make sure that when Neji struck either one of the two places, his hand would stick. It didn't really matter if Neji pulled a feint, because one hand didn't have chakra in it, and that hand would stick. All that mattered was that Neji couldn't move to dodge. Neji's hand shot forward, his left hand first, then his right. Neji's left hand bounced off his target, due to the chakra being concentrated in his left hand. Neji's eyes widened as he tried to stop his right hand, realizing that it was a trap, but it was too late. His right hand landed on its target. Because there was no chakra, it instantly stuck firmly. Naruto grinned predatorily. Now that the protective cage jutsu wasn't in effect, he was free to perform jutsu. The mouth of Naruto's right hand opened up and spat out a ball of clay the size of a marble. It rapidly grew in size to the size of a tennis ball, and a clay mouth with triangular-shaped fangs opened up on the side facing Neji. The mouth twisted into an insane, maniacal smile as it flew over Neji's shoulder, before blowing up right in the blind spot of his Byakugan. Bakuton Blast Ball Jutsu, Naruto said. Seeing as how this is a spar, Naruto lowered the temperature of the explosion, so as not to harm Neji, but the force behind it still packed a punch, and it threw Neji forward, right into Naruto's knee, which he'd raised up. Neji's eyes bugged out as he fell to the ground. I think I win, Naruto said, sitting down heavily next to Neji. And if my calculations are correct, that makes 24-24 this month. Tied. Brutal as ever, Neji replied in a strained voice. Nice job, guys, Tenten said as she skipped over to them. Naruto, Neji, and Tenten had actively been trained together. While Tenten would actively call them friends, Naruto and Neji simply had too much pride to do so, and simply referred to each other as acquaintances. Coincidentally, the three of them were also the top 3 in the academy. You guys have gotten stronger, Tenten said, before grabbing Naruto by the arm and hauling him up. But, since you won the fight between you and Neji, Naruto, you get to help me practice my weapons. This was the deal they had. After every one of Naruto's and Neji's spars, the winner would help Tenten practice her weapons, seeing as how she needed a sparring partner. It helped Tenten in that she could throw objects at a moving target, and helped the winner of the fight between Naruto and Neji because they were tired and so they still had to be able to dodge the weapons, at least they get seriously injured, or very hurt at least. Time skip. Several months later, after graduation. Quiet down, brats, Miko called in his usually grumpy voice. Okay, I'm gonna be going over teams. Naruto tuned out what he was saying and started playing with his clay. Team 9, Naruto Uzumaki, Tenten Hamakiri, and Neji Hyuga, Miko called. Naruto smiled slightly before going back to playing with his clay. Time skip, 2 days. Okay, students, my guy said, boisterously. I want you all to become Chunin on your first try, so we are all going to wait 1 year, and while we do that, we can prepare for the Chunin exams. We will start by doing 100 D-rank missions, followed by 50 C-rank missions. And if we cannot do that, then we will do 200 D-rank missions, before doing another 50 C-rank missions. While the guy was ranting on about his goals, the rest of Team 9 just sweat dropped. Time skip. 100 D-ranks and half of a C-rank mission later. Side note, quick warning, the next part includes like a fight scene where like multiple bandits die, so it's not really too gory, but like just letting you guys know. Anyway, side note end. Kuso, Naruto muttered again as he dashed through the forest. This was their first C-rank, and it was already muddled up. It was supposed to be a simple C-rank, exterminate a bandit camp and leave, with the added benefit of the 3 of them getting their first kills. Gory as it might seem, this was the life that a shinobi lived. As soon as they had gotten within 50 feet of the camp, they had met resistance with the form of the entire bandit camp. They had a censor, my guy informed them, as well as pointing out who it was. This was rare. Bandits usually couldn't use chakra, but if they could, it meant that they likely had a missing nin with them, which meant they were much more dangerous. However, the threat had been quickly neutralized. The Bakuton Blast Ball Jutsu was, in Naruto's not so humble opinion, a very powerful jutsu. It was at least C rank, which was more than most Genin could pull off, and Naruto could produce dozens of them. The blast balls, like Naruto's clay animals, could move, though they could only move by bouncing in a single direction, which made them completely mobile in the air. Though, they made up for this weakness by bouncing quite quickly. 3 bounces later, and the triangular teeth of the blast ball had attached to the man's nose. As placed a second later, and the censor no longer had a head. The 4 bandits around the censor protecting him, seeing as how the censor in a bandit camp would be quite useful, were also put out of commission by the blasts. Naruto had thought it would be smooth sailing from there. How wrong he was. Not even a second later, the real threat from the bandit camp arrived. A C-rank missing nin. Not terribly dangerous, but higher than the 3 Genin of Team 9's level. So naturally, my guy would be taking this one. I count about 80, give or take a few, Neji said, not taking his eyes off the bandits. By my estimation, that's about 27 apiece, Naruto said, grinning. He still hadn't really processed the fact that they're about to kill these bandits, or the fact that he'd killed 5 other ones earlier. Neither had his teammates. It was simply kill or be killed, and the techniques that each of them used were not meant to incapacitate their enemies. They were meant to kill their opponents. All 3 of them lunged forward at the same time. Tenten pulled out a scroll and opened it, activating the seal. Dozens of shurikens flew out of the seal with enough force to puncture several inches deep into wood. Neji landed in the middle of another group of bandits and released palm strikes in all directions. Except this time he wasn't aiming for Tenketsu. This time his targets were vital organs. Hearts, lungs, kidneys, and the likes. Naruto, meanwhile, had simply pointed his hands downwards, while the mouth on his hand spat out a small amount of nitro liquid to blast himself several feet into the air, above the 3rd cluster of bandits, before throwing what appeared to be clay flower seeds. They burst open in midair before rapidly blooming until there was about a dozen clay sunflowers falling. Bakuton, sunflower petal dance, Naruto called from above them, as the clay flowers exploded in a flash of colors. Then, the last 3 bandits had attacked, though this had been several minutes later after the rest of the 80-some bandits had been killed. These ones knew how to use chakra, and they were somewhat adept in the Academy 3, the body switch, the henge, and the clone jutsu. They were likely taught by the C-rank missing nin, though that didn't matter too much. Or so Naruto thought. They'd managed to scatter the 3 Team 9 genin across their camp. By the time Naruto had come to realize where they were, he was very separated from Neji and Tenten. The bandit he was fighting was also gone, not deeming him as much of a threat. And this pissed Naruto off. Back to the present, Naruto had taken off into the woods trying to find his team and get back at the ninja who had simply brushed him aside as not a threat. As Naruto burst into the clearing, he saw Tenten fighting one of the 3 bandits. "Hey idiot!" Naruto yelled. The bandit turned towards Naruto, and Naruto realized that this wasn't the one he'd been fighting, so he kinda brushed him off as well. But the bandit realized that it was a trap. He tried to turn back around, but it was too late. Then Tenten appeared behind him, katana still in motion, and a split second later, his head fell to the ground. Tenten's face looked green, and a disgusted expression appeared on her face. Naruto himself was also starting to feel the effects of what he'd done earlier to those bandits, but he forced it down. They still needed to find Neji and get back to Konoha. After that, he could mope in his grief, or whatever emotion he'd feel for killing these bandits. "Come on, Tenten," Naruto called as he ran back into the woods. "We still need to find Neji." Tenten nodded and followed almost immediately afterwards. After 2 minutes, they found Neji, but it didn't look good. For as strong as Neji was, he was already tired, and if he was well rested, he would have easily been able to take the bandits down. But since he had already fought over 24 bandits, make that around 3 dozen bandits, and while they didn't know how to use chakra, they still around genin level. He was also cut in multiple places, slowing him down. Just as the 2 bandits were about to attack again, Naruto burst out into the clearing. He threw a pair of shurikens at the one on the left, while murmuring just loud enough for Tenten to hear. "You take the one on the right, I'll handle the one on the left." Tenten nodded, as Naruto accelerated toward the one on the left. After a quick exchange of taijutsu, Naruto tried using the Bakuton blast ball again. The bandit managed to dodge the ball and the blast by using the body switch technique, but it was clear that he couldn't use it very well. The blast obscured Naruto with smoke, though. "Huh. You're not bad, kid, but I'll still beat you. When I'm done, I'll finish off your teammates as well," the bandit said cockily, brandishing a knife. He stared at the cloud of smoke, expecting Naruto to be inside. "If you mean you have the larger ego, then yes, you beat me," Naruto said, appearing behind the bandit. The bandit's eyes widened as he tried to turn around, but as soon as he turned his face, Naruto's hand grasped his face. "But I still beat you at life." And with those words, nitrous liquid was expelled from the mouth of Naruto's hands and exploded, sending the bandit to the floor, his face badly burnt. Turning around, Naruto saw that Tenten had taken care of the other bandit, and Might Guy had arrived. "I apologize for taking so long," Might Guy said. "The leader was a bit stronger than I expected, but I wanted to tell you all not to feel bad. You didn't kill because you had to. You did it because of your job, your mission. Now let's get back to the leaf. Time skip. 1 year. In a dark forest of a training ground, though not training ground 44, the Geni members of Team 9 were having a conversation. Apparently the multiple clan heir class is supposed to graduate this year, Naruto said, idly playing with a clay bird that was hopping between his hands. His eyes idly flicked up as a kunai sailed past his head and embedded itself in the tree trunk he was leaning against. Doesn't matter, Neji began. Neji, if you say it's our fate... No, you want... Continue. I dare you, Naruto said, looking up, while Tenten chuckled. Neji sighed. I was going to say, we've been training together for a year longer. Can you please drop the whole fate thing? I said it once. Yeah, because after the first time you said it, Naruto kicked your ass, Tenten laughed. Neji sighed again. Yes, but I beat him afterwards in our next spar. But all jokes aside, I have to agree with you, Neji, Naruto said. Let's crush these upcoming Chunin exams and everyone in them. Anyway guys, thanks for listening. I hope to see you guys next time.